Welcome to From Loneliness to Overflow with Matina. I'm your host, a holistic healing coach, divorce recovery coach, and a passionate advocate for personal growth and your guide on the journey to healing. This podcast is for those who are struggling with the feelings of loneliness, disconnection, feeling stuck, and who are ready to discover their inner potential and live a life overflowing with love and connection. Inside, we are going to explore the path from pain to transformation, bridging the gap between loneliness and abundance through heartfelt conversations, spirituality, energy work, and self-awareness. So let's get started on this soulful journey together. Welcome to another episode from Loneliness to Overflow with Matina. Today's guest teaches us and has learned herself how animals can be the thread of savior, how animals can be that support that give you that boost, like, no, I am cared for, I'm seen, I'm loved. And how also you turning inwards is a journey that blows you into a direction of faith, of love and care. And I can't wait for everyone to hear her story. Welcome, Kristi.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I am excited too, especially once I heard your story and really the depth of all the pain that you've gone through, but also the liberation that you live today. So I'm so super excited for everyone to hear what you do and who you are and what your journey has been like. But before we dive in any of that, please share more about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Kristi Newman. I am a horse trainer. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. So that's sort of, it's my job, but it's my life with horses. So I've been training horses and riders for 37 years and have recently started a nonprofit to help connect people with horses outside of riding and the sport of riding, because horses are incredible just for our well-being and empowerment and leadership. So we do a lot of things with horses is what we do ultimately.
That is so beautiful. And when I was younger, I've been on a horse, but I've never really allowed myself to really deepen the connection with a horse. Until last year, I was at this farm with my nephews, and this beautiful horse was just staring at me. But you can feel the energy of a horse really quickly, especially when you're spiritual. Like, ooh, there's something here. Let me feel into it. And it becomes such a whole different connection when you allow that energy to speak to you. So I resonate with that component. With all the amazing, beautiful things that you do today with and for others with horses and allowing them to get connected with themselves again, what I'm curious about, I'm sure our listener curious about as well, is what was your loneliness or disconnection moment that actually has led you into doing all the wonderful things that you do today?
Yeah, so I would say I had started riding and doing horse stuff when I was about 10 years old. My parents bribed us to move to the country and said, if you move to the country, we'll get you a horse. And they probably regret that now because I've got over 20 something horses. I don't know. I've lost count now. So that's how I got into sort of horse stuff. And then I was, doing school and doing all the things like kids do. And then I met a person who I started, dating. I put in quotations because I was sort of at the end of grade 8, primary school going into high school. And this person was for sure, once you get out of the situation, and back then talking about narcissists was not really a thing. So this person was just obviously dealing with their own challenges. And now I look back with compassion, for somebody who's a narcissist or, it's just a trauma response is my understanding now. And anyways, it didn't matter at the time though, because it was really traumatic to be in a relationship with somebody like this. And going through those years through high school, when it's the time to be a kid and to enjoy and to explore who you're going to be and what you want to do with your life and where you're going, and to be with a narcissist through that time was really, really challenging. And I completely lost sight of who I was. I didn't even know anymore, like things I would want to do and I was told you can't do. And my family knew what was happening, but also if they would bring it up to me, I would push back and defend the person. And so they knew they had to let me just run the course of this relationship. Mm-hmm. So I finally, I missed prom, like so many experiences that, a teenager should be experiencing. I didn't experience any of them, but throughout that, I stayed riding my horses and training and, that was sort of that anchor back to
Mhm.
what lit me up as a human, with the horses.
Yeah.
And so that was my sport. And so I continued to do that. I moved in with him and we bought a house that my parents helped me, acquire. And we moved into this house and they knew that I needed to live with him to really feel the extent of what was happening. So I
Mm.
did, and then had, I would say, a mental breakdown in the middle of my living room floor of this beautiful house. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't stop crying. And I couldn't stop crying. And I couldn't, when you're so hurt or just in so much pain, you can't even lift your arms. Like you can't even stand up. And that's what was happening. I couldn't even get off the floor. And all I kept saying was, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I don't know why I can't stop crying and I don't know what's wrong. And
Yeah.
so the next day I went to work with the horses and I realized it was him. And so I realized I needed to leave this relationship and I needed to get out of this house. And so I talked to my family, who was, thank goodness, still connected with, because he did segregate me from a lot of my friends and family. And I said, I need out of this house. I need to move. And so I came home that night and it was Mother's Day and he'd cooked this dinner for me. It was all cold on the stove. Happy Mother's Day from our dogs. And I started throwing stuff in a garbage bag. And he said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm leaving. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, I'm moving out. And so I just kept packing my stuff and left finally and had to hide actually at my grandmother's house where he didn't know where that was. Anyways, at the end of that, I had to figure out who I was. And I took about 6 years by
Ooh.
myself to figure out who I was because I really couldn't do anything with anybody else, relationship wise, friends or, intimate relationships or anything because I had no idea who I was anymore. I'd completely lost it. So,
Kristi, there's so much pain and strength that you had to hold on to and held on to really be like, this is not it. And to make that decision and actually keep that decision and taking the action behind it is no small feat. I've got so many chills as you were talking. I was like, ooh, I can't even imagine being on that floor, so young, so disconnected, and questioning everything. And
questioning everything and not knowing what was wrong was really challenging.
of
So
course,
yeah.
but it's important for everyone to hear this because so often we blame ourselves for not knowing.
Mm,
And it's okay to not know, but it's also very beautifully okay to ask, like, okay, I don't know, please help.
mhm.
Not only did you ask for help, you took the time, and for you, it was through the horses that you got that aha moment. That it is him that you found the courage to leave, and then to find a safe space to be at is a huge thing.
I had tried to leave several times before. I'll be honest. I tried to break up with him several times before, but because he was so manipulative and so good at what he did, I don't even know that it was purposely though. Honestly, like I look back at that time and I can't hold any, hatred or against him because I can see how hurt he was as a human from
Mm-hmm.
his life experiences. And so this was the path he took to sort of control his environment. And sadly, I got swept up in that. But trying to leave several times before meant that I knew when I had to leave this time, I had to hide because he was so good at getting me on a phone and manipulating me. And I had to change my phone number. And so I had to put, I guess, systems or like parameters around myself to be able to make it work this time and to actually be able to leave and cut those ties. So, yeah, you live
Yeah.
and you learn.
Again, there is courage in this. I admire your nonchalant behavior, but also feeling towards it now. I can totally imagine how your life would have been, but I have had my own specific situation. And the one thing that you said, right, that I do want to highlight here is like he was challenging himself too. He was going through something as
Hmm.
well. That was his journey, right? We can only say that when we have gone through our own healing. That's the
Hmm.
only way we can disconnect from that experience and we can really truly be like, oh, okay, this is something that had nothing to do with me.
Hmm.
I experienced it. There's a lot of forgiveness and awareness and also the ability to segregate the whole situation and hold yourself to the level of what you can control. Because that's not
Hmm.
only
Totally.
commendable, it's just brave.
Thank you. Years later, I saw him again at a social event in our town, and he was dating a girl that worked for me. And so that was sometimes I will say this to the listeners, like, I felt like the stupid girl, like I felt like the stupid girl. Like, how did I not see all these things were happening around me, but because you're in it and whatever. And that was, you have to kind of get over that. You just have to be like, you're not, you didn't, this person was twisting things around and telling you versions of truth, but not truth. And so you have to just forgive yourself for not noticing. But I will say, the relationship was so toxic. And he came up to me at this social event and said, "Thank you for leaving." He thanked me. And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, we were terrible, terrible for each other. And I just thank you for leaving." And he hated me for so many years and made my life really challenging because I owned the house. But to have that closure, I think, is part of the reason that I was able to heal as well. But also, I would say that if people don't get that very obvious closure, I
Mm-hmm.
think you can give it to yourself by forgiving yourself, forgiving them, and letting it go, even if you don't get what I did in that moment. But we can all have that moment
Yeah.
if we choose to. Yeah.
Yeah. It is not about being in the same room and feeling all the feels again, because I'm sure I brought up a lot of things in that moment.
It did.
Because our body responds a certain way, right? Our body remembers the past. Our body remembers certain situations. So it goes in that flight or fight mode really quickly because that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to keep us safe. And yet, hearing that from him, I can see how that would calm your nervous system down and be like, hold on, that's new. That's different. What is this about? And I love what you said about people who don't get the closure, we can give it to ourselves. So even when you said, I felt the girl who was so stupid, it was like, no, no, no. I had to even forgive that thought to myself so that I can really go through life without this filter of the past.
Mhm.
And one thing, Kristi, that I know we talked about and I want to tap into a bit more now is like from this little girl who was exposed to horses, has always had horses in her life. How did the horses help you throughout this journey from this little girl to now to what you're doing that you really allowed you to maybe reflect, maybe really see things differently? Like, what was that for you?
Yeah, so I did not know any of this back then. I just knew that horses made me feel better. And I think a lot of us know, if you've been around a horse, you just feel better. And, anybody who competes with horses knows that, but also there's science now behind it. Heart Math has studied how horses' heart rates affect our heart rates. And there's a lot of science now behind it. And so, what I know now to be true that I was just feeling back then was, every time you're near a horse, I tell people it's like a microwave. Like, you put the food in, you press some buttons, it spins around, it lights up, and your food comes out hot. You don't have to know why it happened, it just happens. And you know that the food was better because now it's warmed up. So, when we're near the horses, it's the same sort of thing. Their energy field works on our energy field,
Mhm.
and they start delayering stuff off. And you don't have to believe it. You don't have to think it's true, but it is true. And they now have studied it. It happens. And so what I would say is, they're taking layers of, like an onion, off of us and recycling it back into the earth because they have 4 feet and they're super grounded. The other thing that's true about horses is they're a prey animal. And so prey animals have to be aware of their surroundings at a level that predators don't have to be, right? Because they have to be able to sense a shift in, so say you've got a coyote or a wolf or a cougar or something that's a predator, and it's just hanging out and walking through the horse's field. The horses will not care.
Yeah.
When the wolf thinks, "Oh, I'm hungry," it has a thought, it changes its body language, and that body language ripples out as energy, and the horses will feel the energy shift. And so when they feel that energy shift, they change. And so they're super hyper aware of threats, energy that's, needs to shift. And they do that. They will shift it. So when you're just sitting with them or working with them or cleaning a stall, a lot of my best ideas have come from just cleaning a horse's stall, being near them. They're shifting your energy and they're taking it, away and recycling it around, and they're just making us better. So I think over the years, just being with them and part of that personal development and empowerment and all that, it really comes, I would say, not even consciously
Yeah.
when you're near the horses.
Mm,
So I'm really, really thankful for them.
that's so beautiful. It How did it then help you though when you, let's say you left him at that time, even though you were not aware of the energy shift and how beautifully they guide us? What did you do? What did you notice when you were around them or when you were seeking them out even more, maybe?
hmm Yeah, so I felt like I was authentic. So I felt like my mind and my body was in alignment when I was near them. I felt like I was totally immersed in the moment. You
Mm,
couldn't be thinking about other things because when you're riding or training a horse, because I grew up, that's what I do is train them. There's no room for anything else in your mind. All you can be is in that moment with that horse having this energetic conversation,
yeah.
sitting on them because it's literally life threatening to you if you're not in the moment. If you lose your attention and it goes wandering off and you're sitting on a horse that you're training, that horse feels that energy shift that you're not focused and that you're not paying attention. And then things can happen and it's quite dangerous. You see in the movies, the horses running around and the people jumping on and riding. Well, it's not like that in real life when you're training them because they don't know things yet, and you're part of this communication and this conversation where you're training them like you would train a dog, and then they come out trained like you see in the movies, but they aren't like that. They're wild animals. If you let a horse loose in a field, it can survive. It doesn't need you.
Mhm.
Not like a dog or a cat that get relying on people. Horses don't need you. And so, yeah, so I think I just felt empowered when I was near them. I was really, really in the moment. I say they're very meditative, even when you're training them or riding, because there's no room for excess thinking. So I would say they just snap you back into the present.
Snap you back into the present and then also allowing you to disconnect with the story that you were replaying in your mind, as we so often do when we are going through a turmoil. We play that same tape cassette over and over and over again. And when you can't do that, and when you're pulled into the present moment, when you're pulled into feeling what you're feeling in that moment, that's when life changes. That's when we are so hyper aware of the present moment. I know for me, there's nothing like the present moment, but to be so aware of, no, I don't want my phone. I don't want any distraction. I want to be here with my child or with my partner or with my family or my friend or whomever. It brings more livelihood to that situation than when you're talking to someone, but you're also like disconnected and distracted because of a screen.
Totally. Totally. It allows space for the joy and the fulfillment and the love to come in, I think.
Yes.
Because
So
when our
how did you
brains are
then?
going so busy, like it's hard to let other things in. So, yeah, I love that.
Absolutely. So how did you then allow more joy in as you were healing?
Yeah. So I ask questions like, who do I want to be? What do I like doing? What do I want to do? Like if I can do anything, like if the literally it's unlimited options of what I want to do. what do I want to do? And I went to bed. This has happened a few times in my life where I've gone to bed and asked the universe, like, what is it that I should do with my life? I woke up in the middle of the night and I had this idea. I needed to go back to university and try to get into vet school. I had been told in high school my marks weren't good enough. I couldn't get into vet school. I couldn't get into sciences or even university. And so I went back to school and got a Bachelor of Science and did all these things. And so I just started asking myself, and interestingly, I did not get into vet school, but this year I did get into vet school. I ended up applying, and we're talking like 10 years later.
Yes.
And so a whole bunch of healing just happened again because you do not know what life is going to like, how amazing life is. I can't even tell you. Like, it's the coolest thing. It's like magic is constantly happening. And if you are in the present moment and you ask the right questions, oh my goodness. Like, you couldn't even, like, if I wrote a movie about this, you wouldn't even believe it, some
Mhm.
of the things. So I think you have to ask the right questions. You have to be in the present and you have to forgive everything that is not that, because
Right.
it's all just old patterns, it's old stories. Just, it's, you don't want to focus your energy in those places in the past or in those experiences that aren't moving you forward to who you want to be and how you want to live. So, uh, yeah, I just ask better questions, I think would be the main
Mhm.
thing.
What has forgiveness done for you? Before we dive back in, I have something transformative to share with you. It's called the Alignment Collective Release, Rebuild, and Rise, my signature group coaching program designed to help you unlock the life you deserve. Every month, we focus on a key area of life, from health to relationships, career, and more. In the first 2 weeks, we energetically release what's holding you back. Then we shift into calling in the abundance and clarity that you desire. And in the final week, we come together for powerful group coaching, sharing our wins, our challenges, and raising the collective energy. Are you ready to release what doesn't serve you, rebuild your foundation, and rise into your potential? Try it for 50% off with discount code GROWTH. Visit matinasingh.com/meditation. The link is also found in the description. I can't wait to support you on this journey.
Oh, yeah. So I think holding on to stuff, like they talk about, if you're holding on to hate or whatever feelings, you're holding it. It's burning you. It's not burning the other person or the other situation. And they're not joking. Quotations, of course. It's no joke because that energy weighs you down.
Yeah.
It's not helping you. It's holding you back. And what I would say, I say to myself as well. So there was a quote on a shirt. I don't know if you remember back in the day, like in the 80s, 90s, there was these shirts that were like "no fear" is what the shirts were, and they'd have these sayings on them, and that said "no fear." And this shirt I got in maybe grade 8, grade 9, it said, "There's nothing more painful than regret." And I will tell you, I have lived my entire life by that, even through that relationship, and even now, because the world isn't going to give you accommodations.
Mm-hmm.
The world is going to just keep going. And this is going to sound really terrible, but when I die, people are going to care for a couple days, but ultimately they have to keep going. Everybody has to keep going. And so you really don't want to hang on to stuff in the past because the universe doesn't care. The the present moment is all that actually matters. And staying in this joy and this fulfillment and this high vibration energy state, any kind of like past thinking
Yeah.
and it's not productive, is going to lower that energetic state. And so
Mm-hmm.
then it's lowering your energetic state, not somebody else's. So to me, it's like you can make the choice, just let it go. It really is a choice, and um you can be right or you can be happy.
Right. You can be
That's what I
right
would
or you
say.
can be happy. Woo! Let that one sink in. You can be right or you can be happy. What do you choose?
It's up to you. You can have the fight, you can have the argument. Yes, it was wrong. Yes, it was wrong that this person did this to me for 10 years, 100%. But they were hurt too. And so they may not have even known their actions were hurting me as much as they were. Right.
And yeah,
So, but from my perspective, I'm right that it was hurtful and it was not good. But is that going to help me? No. Like, is that going to make me happy thinking about it? No. so, so I can be right in this situation or I can be happy. And I think there's a lot of times where you have an opinion about somebody's behavior or something that's happened to you. And it's not to discount things, bad things happen to everybody. And some things are worse than others for people. But it's not going to help you move forward, and each day is your life. Like there's no some life happening later on. Like this is it right now in this moment. There is like, it's not like when I retire I can be happy. No, like now you need to be happy because it, it's your life now. And so yeah, it's a choice.
it is going from a culture of hush hush to culture of now. And there's a whole growth journey when you make that conscious choice of no, I'm going to make now count. And even people who are doing all that work have their moment of hush hush too. So, how can you find that balance into your life where you can always bring yourself back in that present moment and appreciate what is here for you now versus the past and the systems and all of those things? Kristi, I'm curious, this question is coming up. So, let's see how you explain this.
Go for it.
I believe that we have four bodies. We have a physical body that everyone can see, our mental body, the way we think, that our own patterns, our emotional body, what we have suppressed or what we have actually worked through, and our emotion that we are living every single day, and then our spirit, our spiritual body, if you will. What you shared, especially with the horses, is so connected, in my opinion, to the emotional body, which helps you decompress all those heavy emotions that are suppressed in you and then allow you to think clearly. But it's also this capacity of recognizing where in your life you're stuck and unpacking that onion in a way that it's giving you peace and allowing you to forgive, if you will. How does that resonate, do you think?
Okay, so what came into my mind when you were saying that was horses bring all four of those bodies together into one.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that would be step one. So if I have so many examples of this, I can't even, so many examples of this. So if I come to the barn and I'm in a bad mood, energetically, my brain is sort of off in la la land, thinking about something that happened and I'm grumpy.
Yeah.
The horse will step on my foot. Or I've had a horse once, one of my horses, I was in a bit of a bad mood and he stepped on my foot and then body checked me. They will snap you out of your head and bring you back into your physical body. And I giggle every time it happens because I'm like, yeah, sorry, my fault. They snap you back into this wholeness.
Yes.
Yeah. They're really incredible at that. And so I'll see kids come for lessons or adults come for lessons and they've got too much baggage from, I tell people at our stable, we have a gate at the front of our property. We have 100 acres and it's this beautiful property with tons of water underneath it. And everybody says when you come in the gate, you just feel like you're in some magical place at the farm. And I tell people when you close that gate at the front of the property, you need to leave all your like identity, all your to-do lists, all the, oh gosh, I got to do this. Oh, the mom, the family member, the coworker, the blah, all the things, leave it outside. Because when you're here, you need to be here. The whole
Mm-hmm.
you needs to be here and that authenticity. And so when that doesn't happen though, the horses will snap you into yourself. So, and sometimes it's not comfortable, I will tell you. And so I tell people they will teach you what you need, not necessarily what you want. So
Life does
it's,
that too.
yeah, doesn't it? It's like that velvet hammer. Like you're not listening, you're not listening. It's like whap, something happens in your life and things happen for you, not to you. And
Yes.
so when it happens with the horses, I now thank them and giggle about it like, yeah, fair. That's fair.
There is surrender in that, though.
Mhm.
What I'm hearing is you've not only learned how to align your body and be in the present moment, but you also have learned to surrender to that moment and be like, okay, I'm here.
It's true. It's true. And it really pushes your ego aside. And that's the other I would say, your ego is really there to protect you, I think, right? To
Yeah.
navigate the outside world and to protect you. And with horses, they push it aside. You really have to be who you are, and that, mind and body, emotional, physical, spiritual, all comes together, and you really need to be the whole you when you're with the horses. They want that, and
Yeah.
they respect that. And I can see the difference in the horses with people who come here who are their the wholeness, and the people who are not, because I can watch the horses. The horses won't follow the people that are too compartmentalized in their brains and in their bodies and their lives. And when you work around the horses, because they get you back to this wholeness, they recognize it very quickly, and they'll follow people when they're the whole version of themselves, because that there's safety in that
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
them, because they want someone who can lead, and whether it's another horse or a human, that can lead them and keep them safe. And there's safety in authenticity because the energy level is so high from that realness, I would say.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Wow. Do you have an example from maybe yourself or someone else that you have taught of how they came in versus how they went out?
Oh yeah, all the time. So we get people coming yesterday. One of my clients is a very high level in the corporate world in her job, and was buzzing with energy just from a whole bunch of things that were happening throughout the day. And you can just see that. I mean, even there, I just naturally took that deep breath, like that
Mm-hmm.
deep breath of grounding. And as soon as she got here, you could see from the start of the evening to the end of her ride, just a complete shift in energy, a complete shift, totally relaxed. And she said, when I go home, I think I'm going to have that adrenaline crash because it's been 3 or 4 days of really crazy at work. And the horses, that the evening, our lesson was the last thing on the list of things she had to do after all these stressful days. And yeah, she was leaving a completely different person. And so I mean, I think it happens in lots of places, but horses help you do it faster, I think, just
Yeah.
because their energy is so high. And so it moves. Dogs and cats are amazing too, but energy from a horse is like 30-foot, you know, energy radius. It's huge. So it just happens faster with them.
Yes.
Yeah, it's happening all the time. Yeah, it's really neat to watch.
I love that. Oh, that's so beautiful. I have not had the privilege of being around horses too much, but you are making my head go spinning. Like, oh, I would love to understand and feel more of that and surrender more of that into the now moment, into the here, and experiencing what is real and what isn't real, and getting out of the head, right? Because we are so connected and hold on to our ego and our heads and want to make logic of everything and anything, that emotions are not important, that here and now is not important. Let's plan
Mhm.
the future, let's look at the past. And all that you share today in your own journey, but also in the journey of the clients that you help now, it's like, let's bring you back into the now moment where you align all of the bodies and you make yourself feel complete again and not scattered into all of these compartments that we have created for ourselves. That is so powerful.
That's beautiful. I love
I'm,
that.
I'm so glad that you share your story, because we all need to get to, don't need to, get to recognize how there's so much more inside of us that we have not seen yet.
It's so true. You know what I would say, just as one quick thought, energy really is our first language. You get that gut feeling. Energy is our first language, but we've forgotten how to speak it.
Yeah.
And with horses, especially, like I said, I mean, they don't speak English, they speak energy. And so it's amazing how, when you tap back into your ability that you were born with to speak energy, how the world shifts for you. Like, it really is incredible. And I imagine when I was a kid, I found out, I don't know what ages of people listen to your show, but about Santa Claus. And it was very upsetting to me to find out about this.
Mhm.
I will leave it at that. I was like, what? The world does not have magic in it? Like this, I can't. I can't. I was angry for about 20 years. Honestly, I was like so grumpy because I was like, there's no magic. Then I realized magic is real and it's all around you all the time. And you just actually can tap into it anytime you want. And then my life completely changed again because of cluing in that there's all this amazing, the stuff, the space between the things is the cool stuff. And
Yes.
so I love that. And so it really makes me excited about life, honestly. So,
That is so
yeah.
good. That's so good. Oh my God. I love that you share that because it is that. It is going from a disappointment thought to shifting it up again and upping it a notch and being like, hold on, no. I am energy. I am that creator. I am that magic, if you will.
Mhm.
So,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, so good, so good. Kristi, we have a little ritual on this podcast where I get to ask you a question that the previous guest has left. And then after the recording, I'll ask you to leave a question as well. So the question I have for you today is, what is your unique way to reconnect with yourself and connect with others?
No, horses, obviously. That's easy. That's easy. Do you know what I do though? I love connecting the lessons that I learned from the horses to real life in quotations.
Give me an
Because
example.
right? Like riding and training horses, you're learning to speak horse and you're learning to have this conversation. I tell people it's like a text message with the horse. You're text messaging the horse a question, like, go or stop or jump a jump. And then you have to wait for them to text message you back. And then it's this conversation that's always happening. And I love connecting the lessons that they teach us in those conversations back to the real world that people can use outside of the
Mhm.
stable, outside of the barn, and in your job and with your family, and bringing that joy from the stable because there is no time or space. I mean, we're at the end of our time together, but there is no time or space, right? So it's like being connected to a cell phone, and having that great connection and getting people. For me, being connected to the horses is like having a great cell phone connection to the universe and to the energy. And so that's what I do. I stay connected to that energy and I try to connect people from where they are, like you and I, connecting you with this horse energy and connecting people from home to that energy so that you can feel it as well.
I love that. Yeah, these questions are always matching and connecting with the whole conversation. I love how the universe works. I love how these
Mhm.
connections just are built and created in that way. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for your authentic share, the realness in it, the joy in the horses and in the present moment. And anyone who is interested in reaching out to Kristi, you can do that in the description below. You'll find all her information. And we will make sure that when you get to experience life in the here and now, that you get a little bit of magic, that you experience that little bit of
Mhm.
an aha moment and joy of, wow, what is this? What is this realness in here? And if you have a moment and you have a place where you can go nearby to visit a horse, be with a horse, please do. There's nothing more alive than being whole in your own body in that moment. Beautiful. Thank you, Kristi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening. I hope this episode has helped you to feel less alone in finding tools towards a life which is overflowing with love and purpose. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a second to rate and review. Each review helps us to reach more individuals who are seeking healing and personal growth just like you. And don't forget to take a screenshot and share your aha moments on your Instagram stories and tag me, Matina. See you next week. Take care.